If you enjoy our original content, please consider becoming a supporter on Anchor so that we can continue to bring you laughs every week.
The following program may contain immature situations, themes, and is intended for an adult audience. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect the views of everyone else working on the show. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Danny McDermott Show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Kevin, how are you today?
I am doing great, Danny. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Me too. Except here's one thing that I just put in my earbud, right? I lost the little plastic thing.
Oh.
Don't you hate that? It's like a little piece of plastic sticking in my ear instead of that comfortable rubber nozzle. You know what I mean? I feel naked in my right ear. Anyway. I just had my son for a week and a half. He's just turned 16, and one of my friends is like, "Give him your car." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Wait, I'm gonna wait until he learns to drive first. Plus, I need the car." Anyway, so it's a big day. We got baseball opening season right now, but there's a lot of national holidays today. We got Caramel Popcorn Day, International Beaver Day. Who gives a damn? National Beer Day.
There you go.
National Walking Day. No Housework Day, which that's my day every day, and World Health Day. So it's a big day. A lot of national holidays. You know what? I think World Health Day and National Walking Day should actually be changed to World Health Morning and National Walking Morning, because it's also National Beer Day. And, once that kicks in, it's taken over. You're not going to be walking, or, you're not going to be thinking about your health. That's why it's also No Housework Day. You're not going to be celebrating National Beer Day with a round of dusting. International Beaver Day. That's crazy. I'm not going to go dirty with that, Kevin, because I was going to say after a few beers, you might celebrate National Beaver Day. I'm not going to do it. Oh, damn it. I just did it. See what happens. I couldn't resist. On National Beer Day, the last thing you want is a blocked waterway. Am I right, Kevin?
That's a fact.
Look, I don't like to talk about it, but one night my friends and I got so drunk, we challenged the local beavers to a dam building contest. And the beavers were so drunk, they accepted the challenge. So the local Leishakill Creek near my house turned into Leishakill Lake, and the beavers are still pissed that we won the trophy. So, Kevin, are you celebrating national? Oh no, you don't drink, right?
I do not. I consume liquids, but not alcohol. People don't always make that distinction.
Well, that's actually a smart thing, especially for anybody in entertainment. Now we got a big show today. Now I want to talk about national. Since it's baseball season, I am excited. I'm excited for the Yankees. Kevin and I are both huge Yankee fans. Sorry, Ryan. That's our guest is from the Orioles. I'm sorry. But we decided to do a segment about baseball mascots. Let's roll it. Failed mascots.
play ball.
All right. Failed mascots. Now, this goes along with our whole line of failed stuff. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that the original mascots that they were thinking of doing, they failed because they just weren't good ideas. For example, the San Diego Chicken. San Diego is very popular mascot. It works great, right? But what a lot of people don't realize is they originally were going to say they were going to have the San Diego Scumbag. And that didn't work out too well. He was picking people's pockets. He broke windows in the parking lot, and he would hit on your girlfriend while you're in the bathroom.
That wasn't popular,
right? I think I know that guy, actually. Also, next, the Philly Fanatic, another very popular mascot.
Absolutely.
You know what? We were going to bring Ryan on for this. Should we bring him on? He
Well,
might have something to say.
we can't keep him waiting then.
He might have some. All right, you know what? Let's pause this for a second. Ryan Powell, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is not NBC or CBS. We can do this stuff. We can. This is my fault. My fault. I accept it. No, Kevin, it's your fault. You're fired. Ryan Powell is a former professional baseball player and scout for the Baltimore Orioles organization. Currently, he's a professional coach, motivational speaker, and for the most important of reasons, he was selected into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2017. Please welcome Ryan Powell.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thank
How
you
you
for
doing,
coming
buddy?
out, Ryan.
Doing great.
All right, so
Good to see
you saw this segment we got, right?
Yeah, I saw
I
it.
bet. I mean, did you even know that? See, we're teaching you stuff now, Ryan.
Yeah,
we're
hey.
teaching.
I'm a sponge. Bring it on.
All right, let's go. The next Philly Fanatic. Let's bring up the Philly Fanatic here. Now, anybody, you know the Philly Fanatic, right, Ryan?
Of course.
Okay, perfect.
He's pretty
there
wild.
he is, right there. Whoop, he was there for a second. There he is, the Philly Fanatic. Look at that. He looks like what is it? What are those Muppets that do the horn with the horn? Mana, mana, dun, dun, na, 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 right?
He definitely needs a nose job. That's for sure.
He
But
definitely does.
I
He's like
I have some friends that actually had some interesting stories with this clown over the years.
Really?
So, it's cool. Yeah, just little things. He's always trying to mess with guys, and I mean, there's a famous story of him messing with Tommy Lasorda. Did you ever see that?
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Tommy
Tell me what happened. What happened? What did he do?
Oh no, he just came up and he had like a little. My memory serves correct. Like a little doll or something, and Tommy got pissed and ripped it away from him, and it's just you can see it on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find.
Okay, good story. Anyway,
Tommy Lasorda, the audio of Tommy Lasorda in certain settings that's out there is absolutely hysterical. Very colorful man. And
Yeah,
not constrained by the kind of language that would be on network television either.
well, originally the Philly Fanatic was they were considering doing the Philly Fornicator, which obviously failed. You know, he was a little Italian guy who makes you run up the steep stadium stairs before kicking the shit out of you. And obviously he hit on your girlfriend too. There's mascots they do well with the ladies. They really do.
Yeah,
right.
In Philly, those fans are pretty rough. So at least they have a mascot going for them.
All right.
Pretty tough.
Right. Next one, Mr. Met. Mr. Met. Everybody loves Mr. Met. But originally they were thinking Mr. Masochist. Which obviously for the Mets, that hit way too close to home for Mets fans. They are all masochists.
Yeah, Mr. Mess was probably under consideration too.
And then we come to the Orioles. The Oriole Bird. The Oriole Bird. Now, I don't know if you know this. I know you were with the organization, but we did some heavy research. And we found out that it was originally the Oriole Bull, and they would keep it in the bullpen. But when a couple of the pitchers got gored while trying to milk him, it was just bad idea.
Hey, you
Yeah,
know what I think is missing in baseball right now? I think they need to bring back the bullpen cart. I think that's pretty cool.
The
That is-
bullpen what?
The bullpen
cart.
cart. You
Yeah.
don't remember the bullpen cart?
Absolutely.
No.
It was
Kevin,
awesome.
you know it.
Yeah, the Yankees had a pinstripe Toyota. The Mets had a golf cart with a gigantic helmet on top.
Yep.
But every team, they would come out to center field. They would drive around the warning track, so not on the grass. And the pitcher would get dropped off, chauffeur driven to behind home plate for no explicable reason.
None whatsoever.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
they should
Zero.
drag a mat behind it and at least smooth out the dirt.
No, it's funny.
All
Well,
right,
hey,
next-
Danny, you see Major League, right?
Oh, of course, man. Of course.
You know how he takes the bullpen cart later in the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That was a great film.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Toronto Blue Jays. It's now Junior, but it used to be BJ Birdie, which for obvious reasons they couldn't use that in today's world. There's a lot of sex going on with these mascots. That's all I'm saying.
That disappoints both children and sexual deviants, that name.
And finally, Oakland A's. The original was Harry Elefante. I mean, there's just too many jokes that we could do with this.
Just looking at that getup he's got on, it looks like maybe he lost his job for embezzling peanuts and $280,000.
Right? I think he might have lost most of his trunk from cocaine. Look at that. That's not. I guess it was based on Harry Belafonte, right?
I would think.
Yeah.
You would think, right? Is he from there? I don't know. Anyway. All right, let's bring Ryan up to full size again. So yeah, man, it's so good to see you. I'm going to tell the story a little bit how we met. Why don't you start it? How we met?
Okay. Well, I had just moved out to California. I was getting together with one of my buddy Steve, and through the baseball world, it connects with so many other sports, obviously. And a good friend of mine he's a boxing promoter, and invited me, and told me I could bring a couple of my friends to the championship fight down at the Staples Center. And this was previous to meeting Danny. And so my buddy Steve gave Danny a call, and it was a kind of a last minute thing. And all of a sudden we get there.
It was so last minute, dude.
Yeah.
I just got to my house with my Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you guys are like, you got to go now. You got to go now. And I'm like wolfing down this Kentucky Fried Chicken. Dude, I was grease all over me, dude. I had to, because here's the thing. You got us the best seats in the house for this boxing match, right? And so
they were pretty nice.
Yeah. And you're yelling, you guys are yelling at me, you got to get over here. You got to get over here. And so I like wolfed down as much as I could. I threw it in the fridge, threw on a blazer, and just hopped in the car and drove over to Steve's place. And then we get there, and we're in like the 5th row on the floor, watching this championship boxing match. It was insane. There were like celebrities all around us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was like
in the row right in front of us.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. I mean, it was amazing.
Oh, it was
you know
great.
how I remember that too? There was so many memories from that night. I went to the bathroom and this dude just peed on my shoe.
And actually, I used to wear those shoes. I remember those shoes.
Dude, I'm sitting there. I hear some spatter. I look down. The guy missed the urinal. He's peeing on my shoe. I looked at him. He goes, "Oh, sorry, man." I'm like, "What do you say to that?" I'm like, "No problem."
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
$37.50 a shoe, and I gotta buy 2.
So anyway, the thing that struck me, so it was a great match. It was a great match.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me though about you, and the reason that we are good friends today, is I like everybody, but I'm very careful about who my close friends are. And when we were walking out, there was this gentleman trying to get back in because he bought the wrong size shirt for his son. And they're like, "We're sorry, sir. Once you leave, you can't come back in." and we saw them, him arguing with the guy, and me and Steve are like, let's go. And Ryan's like, hold on a second. He walks over. He goes, what's the problem? And the guard says, well, we can't let him back in. And Ryan goes, well, I'm still here, right? So can I exchange his shirt for him? Ryan didn't know this guy. And the guy goes, yeah, sure. And so he takes it and he returns the shirt and gets him the other shirt. And that just blew my mind that Ryan took the time to do that. You know what I mean? And that's when I knew you were a good human being. And that's why that I decided right then and there that I wanted to be your friend. So that was amazing, dude.
No, I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I remember that story, and I'm just glad we were able to get the right size shirt for his little kid. It's like,
but that's how you are. That's how you are, man. Ryan really is that way. In fact, you went down to Haiti, didn't you?
I went down to the Bahamas. I think it was
the Bahamas. Sorry, the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And that was after the hurricane.
Yeah, a couple teams and I spent a total of a little over a month there after Hurricane Dorian hit. It's arguably the strongest hurricane on record. 225 sustained winds for 36 straight hours, storm surge up to 25 feet, tornadoes everywhere afterwards. I mean, it was really hard to see some of the things that we saw down there, but it really looked post-apocalyptic.
But you were there to help, and you were there for a while. That was great.
Yeah.
I mean, you do things that most people don't take the time to do, and I value that in you as a person. Now let's talk about baseball. How did you get into baseball?
Growing up right outside of Detroit, you'd think I'd be playing hockey, but that was definitely the off-season thing to stay in shape. But it's a long lineage of baseball in my family. My great grandfather played with Shoeless Jackson,
Wow.
Babe Ruth, guys during the World War I era, and then also my father and my dad was really the one that instilled that baseball love that I've had my entire life. I mean, for example, my first toy when I was a baby was a baseball bat. So, I think it was kind of set up right from the beginning. But I'm
just picturing you, a fussy baby with a baseball bat.
And I'm thinking with that baseball bat, you could have gotten the guy the right shirt in every color, every size. You could have just brought back a ton of shirts. Here you go, pal.
I'm just picturing you don't like your food, and you're like, whack. You just knock it off.
Right?
Strike one, Ma. Don't let there be another.
Too funny.
So how did you get with the Orioles?
Well, it's kind of crazy. Obviously, I'm not with the organization anymore, but at a brief stint with Baltimore in 2013 in uniform as a player, and then after the year, ended up retiring, and that's when I became head of independent pro scouting for the organization, doing international special assignments for our general manager and our international scouting director. And I was there for 4 years doing that position.
And you scouted one of the biggest baseball players today.
Yeah, he's been definitely a big topic of conversation as of late. It's a great story. I found him. He previously was with the Washington Nationals and was released by the organization.
Let's say his name.
His name's Yerman Mercedes. He's actually leading Major League Baseball in hitting right now. So it's a fantastic story because not a lot of guys have been able to get seen in the area in the league that he was playing in. But we decided to take a chance on him, and eventually through the Rule 5 draft, the Chicago White Sox picked him up, and very shortly after he was on his way to the majors. So I'm very happy for Yerman and his story.
That's fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's important to have an eye for talent. You hear that, agents out there, talent agents?
Now, can I ask you, Ryan, how likely do you think that we'll see more people doing like Shohei Ohtani does? Hitting at a high level and pitching at a high level. It's impressive.
I think there is a certain group of people in baseball, maybe scouts or agents or player development, that would like to see more of that happening. To get to the level of Major League Baseball, it's so hard to, as just in any facet. So to be able to compete on the mound and then in the batter's box at the same time at that level is it's pretty astonishing. So to be able to find some guys that can do that, I mean, it really has to start at a very young age. I mean, guys like, Madison Bumgarner, he can swing it a little bit, but to the level of how Ohtani has been able to bring his career to fruition from that standpoint, I think that we'll see more of it down the line, but it really starts when you're like 5 years old and staying on top of it.
The investment in players. I had always heard that Dwight Gooden was a spectacular left-handed hitter, but batting lefty, your right arm is exposed to the pitcher, and allegedly the team wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't heard that story, but it wouldn't surprise me there. I mean, a lot of teams, there are guys that can swing it a little bit, but don't necessarily want their guys to really concentrate on it because it's also taking time away from them developing as a pitcher or vice versa as a position player.
Okay, now just so you know, we don't normally do this, but our guest, who is one of my friends and mentors, wants to come in and talk baseball. So we're going to bring him in a little early. So let's bring up the banner here. This man has appeared on over 100 TV shows in 6 different countries, and for 17 years was the warm-up comedian / booker for The Late Show with David Letterman. Please welcome Eddie Brill.
Hey,
yeah.
Good to see you both. Yeah, it's so much fun listening to the chat about baseball because I love this kid, Yermín. Got 8 hits in his first 8 at bats for Chicago. It's very exciting. And then, the Shohei Ohtani, oh my God, what a great player. And there's a kid, I think, with Tampa, Brendan McKay. Yeah, Brendan McKay is a kid who's a great hitter and a great pitcher, and he's deciding whether he's going to go both ways or whatever. My father was a catcher growing up in Brooklyn, and he was incredible, and he was signed by the Philadelphia Athletics, but never did anything with his career because of other stories. My grandfather talked him out of it, and he always regretted it. But he played for he would catch Sandy Koufax when they were in high school.
Wow, that's impressive.
So that's Midwood in Brooklyn.
Well, at Lincoln High
Ryan
School.
is a catcher.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I was
a catcher.
I was a catcher.
Yeah. I had a story when I was in Little League. I was a catcher because father was. And there was a really incredible player on the other team who was tall and handsome and blonde hair, and all the girls loved him. So I'm taunting the guy, taunting him, and I'm rounding third, heading home and instead of just tagging me out, he smashed me in the ball with the baseball, and I was out cold. I was blackout, and I was so angry. But they let you back in. In Little League, you're allowed to come back in after you're injured. So I came back in, and this guy was going from first to home on a double, and I got the ball at the catcher before he got there, and I tagged him out by punching him in the face with the baseball. And I got kicked out of the league.
And that was the end of your career.
End of my career. But boy, did I have a phenomenal, it was such a good payback.
I was just going to say, you weren't going to top that story if they let you stay in
the league. But he didn't get kicked out for hitting you in the balls? I don't get that.
No, because he was.
He made it look like it was.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. It's revenge is always premeditated and always dealt with a little more harshly. So the first guy could have claimed, "Hey,
yeah,
it's an eye for an eye situation."
It's like in hockey, the guy who hits first never gets the penalty. It's the guy who hits back who gets the penalty.
True.
Right.
I mean, over the years, all the bench clearing brawls and all sorts of stuff. If you stick around as a player for years, it's bound to happen. I mean, so many bench clearings, so many crazy things like that over the years. So,
and now with COVID, it's they don't want to have the bench brawls. Yep. Trying to not hit anyone or not come in contact.
It's tough to substitute for that, though. They can't exactly lock eyes and dance. You know what I mean? A little
Well,
hostility. You got to let that out.
Kind of cool, actually, Kev.
That would be cool. Dance off. Dance off.
I call the cha-cha.
You know who I am?
Oh my Well, hopefully we don't have any bench clearings this season, because I report to spring training because I got back on the field, and I'm the hitting coach for the Lake Erie Crushers in the Frontier League. So hopefully we don't have any bench clearings this year.
Right.
With everything going on. Speaking about COVID, and I think most guys are going to be pretty understanding of that overall. Just since we had to put the Gone Fishing sign up on all of our stadiums last year for the most part, and everybody's just going to be pretty much happy to get back on the field. I mean,
yeah. Well, there was that guy Castellanos on the Reds the other day who jumped up and got suspended for 2 games just for thinking angry.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Not at all.
No, I'm old school. I like it when the game policed itself. You go across the line. There's chin music coming your way at some point. In fact, CC Sabathia a couple of years back had a innings incentive coming up a half inning later in the last game of the year against Tampa, and he threw at a guy on the Rays to.
I remember that.
He wasn't worried about the money, but he got it anyway. And that's the story we still tell, much like Eddie's punching the guy in the face story. That's the stuff that lasts.
Yeah, the game deserved it.
That'd be funny. Just imagining like a little 6-year-old Eddie just punching.
I know.
How old he was?
He was out.
He was out, and he was out like a light.
And he had the smelling salts to prove it.
Yeah.
It's funny, Eddie. You look. I saw pictures of you that you posted of you as a little kid. You looked like a little Steve Martin.
Oh,
you
cool.
really did.
That's cool. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah, you really did.
Right.
You really did.
I'm picturing a 10-year-old in silver hair and a white suit. Steve is great.
He is incredible. When I was in college, I got to usher his 5 shows in Boston at the at this big theater, and it was really great because the first show he was just this master ad-libber, I thought, but he was just so talented. He made it look like he was making it up on the spot, and it was a real lesson for me early in comedy to watch him. And then years later, I was booking Letterman, and I had Kevin Nealon on the show. And I was working with Kevin, trying to convince him to do this one bit that I thought was funny. And Kevin saying, "Yeah, my friend says the same thing. He says he wants to talk to you." So I'm talking to the guy on the phone. I'm going, "Yes, we should talk Kevin into doing it," and all this kind of stuff. And really good chat with this guy. And then I hand him the phone. He hangs up. He goes, "Yeah, that was Steve Martin." And then I freaked out. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like if I would have known it was Steve Martin, I wouldn't have been able to have the conversation. But I freaked out after.
I met Steve Martin. He was doing a interview for the New York Times, and there was only 100 people in the audience. And my mother-in-law at the time got me in, and I'm standing online waiting to talk to him because they had the microphones. They did the interview, and then they had questions. And so I'm standing waiting. I got it all planned out. I'm like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, "You're one of my biggest influences. I'm a comedian. You're one of my biggest influences. Whenever anybody, blah, 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 And I get up, and right before I go up, I'm waiting, and there's the microphone on the other side of the room. I hear someone go, "I'm a comedian too, and you're one of my biggest influences." And I look over, and it's Scott Blakeman.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Scott, so I'm like, I know that guy. And so I've literally got seconds now to think of a new question. And, and I'm sweating. I'm panicking. I'm like, this is Steve Martin. This is my hero. This is my God. And I just panicked, and I just go, you know what? He stole every line I was going to say, Steve. Okay. I was going to say that. I know you, Scott. I know him. And he's everybody's laughing. And I go, whenever anybody asks me, who was your biggest influence? I always say Steve Martin. And he goes, really? Like that. And the audience giggles, and he goes, let's test that out. Right. So like, everyone's like, oh my God, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And Steve goes, I call him Steve. He looks at me and he goes, excuse me, sir, if I were to ask you who was the greatest comedian of all time, who affected you the most, who would you say it was? And he goes like this with his hands like this. And I go, George Carlin. He goes, damn it. He set me up perfectly.
Hey, talking funny stories though that you told me, Danny. That the Bill Murray story is my favorite.
Oh God, that one. Bill Murray. Okay, so I had just moved to New York and I had no money, and I had $422 in my bank account, which I put $430 into rent, and I'm starting at this new restaurant in right around Madison Square Garden, and so, but it's like a shishi restaurant with pink napkins and everything. There was no way it was going to succeed. You know what I mean? This Asian guy decided he was going to make this fancy restaurant right next to Madison Square Garden. And we're all sitting there, we're no customers. We're all broke. We're all like, this sucks. Steve Martin goes walking by with his son, right? And this is before before I really did anything as far as acting or anything. I did some stand-up with it. I run to the window and I go, oh my God. And I yell, I'm like, look, it's Bill Murray. Bill Murray is walking. He's right there. And I'm pointing out, and Bill Murray sees me doing this, right? And he goes to his son. He starts poking his son. It's him. And he runs to the window and he goes like this. And he's like, breathing on the window. It was hysterical. Everybody in the restaurant, there was no people except for the waiters, but we were all dying.
That's great.
Yeah. So many good stories. So you must have had Bill Murray on the Letterman show, right?
Yeah. I booked the stand-up. So we had, I was in proximity to pretty much everyone. There's some people were in and out and I didn't really get to chat with him, but Steve, I got to talk to him and tell him about how, all the times we interacted. And he was just an amazing, inventive person. When guests would come on Letterman, you'd want them to create something funny for the segment. And Steve Martin went above and beyond. Guys like Martin Short and Steve Martin, these were the type of people who would go above and beyond to create, bits or things to film or stuff like that. So he was one of the greatest, and just a very, very talented man who, you could see he was into his work, and it's very inspirational, just an inspirational guy. And then down to earth. When I used to work I worked all over the world and had really great gigs. And the best gig in the world was a gig in Paris, France. And Rich Hall, the comedian, got me involved. And I started working there every July. So it was July 4th, American in Paris is what they called it. So Steve Martin and Kevin Kleiner filming, the remake of the
Pink Panther.
Correct for 10 points. Okay.
I could have done it in 2 notes.
All right, Kevin. You got 10 points. 10 will give you 20. So anyway, they're out there filming in Paris. So a friend calls and says, look, I can get them to come to your show. They would love to see your show. So I was so excited to have both of them come. And unfortunately, the filming went on and on and on, and as filming does. And they actually called and said, we're sorry, but there were 2 seats ready for those 2 guys. And that close, having them come see me at the best venue in the world. I'll be okay.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. Oh my God.
That would have been amazing. Because you want the people that you admire to like what you do.
Yep.
I mean, that's important.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
No question. At some point, the validation of your peers and the people you look up to is priceless.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like it yourself, but we're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah,
and you have tunnel vision with what you do, so you're always comparing it to the vision you have in your head, and having someone else who just sees the product and looks at it on its own merits, especially when it's someone you look up to. It is very validating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that goes to anything in life, not just comedy or film or sports, anything in life.
Is there a baseball player that you met, or a baseball figure that you met, Ryan, that was kind of a meeting your hero type of moment, or I can't believe this is happening to me type of moment?
I mean, I've met so many guys. Like talking about Tommy Lasorda, Tommy always treated me incredible, and when I would normally see him at the winter meetings, but I mean, the first time I met him was, the night was kind of, wrapping down, and I saw him over in the corner, and I just kind of looked over, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go introduce myself. And started talking, and within seconds, he's like, sit down. And, he probably was thinking I wanted to just talk to him about his, his managing career in the major leagues for the Dodgers. But I started asking questions about, the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers when he was playing with Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reeves, Roy Campanella, and all these just legendary Hall of Famers, and he just kind of looked at me. He's like, aren't you a little too young to know who these guys are? I'm like, Tommy. But, so guys like Tommy Lasorda, or, talking a little bit of catching with, like Johnny Bench. I actually just ran into him at the airport about a year and a half ago. But I actually had a little bit of time to speak with him a few years back out in California. There's a lot of guys that come to mind, but like Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge. I mean, being a catcher,
Right.
I'm not that tall of a guy. So
I was a big Munson fan growing up.
Oh,
Thurman
yeah.
was,
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I remember when he died. I was a kid. And
heartbreaking.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was at a Mets Phillies game, and they put it on the scoreboard, and everybody just, it was pretty much over. It's like, we should just leave the stadium. It was just so hard to see that on the scoreboard.
God.
And I've been to Thurman Munson dinners, and I've met, I have, Bobby Ojeda of the Mets is a dear friend, and he was he was bringing in Darryl Strawberry to the Thurman Munson. Strawberry was getting, awarded the award, and it was such a thrill to meet and to see how people revered Munson. Everyone there, it was just amazing. I mean, everyone from Bud Harrelson to, people nowadays, young kids knew everything about Munson. Like, Ryan, you're saying you're a young kid, and Lasorda's like, how do you know that? When I was, 6 and 7, I knew I watched every game. I collected every card. My hero was Clemente. Roberto Clemente was my hero. We were very poor, and we couldn't afford seats other than like right field, like in the corner, like pretty much you should be home on your couch. You have better.
The kitchen is equidistant. Your home kitchen and the stands.
Right, and you got the fridge right there. And so I saw Clemente throw out a player, from the corner of right field on a line. So when I was working on the Letterman show, this woman Annette, who was used to work for the Yankees, we would talk about baseball every day, and she knew I loved Roberto, so she got me to host the Roberto Clemente Awards in Puerto Rico every year.
Wow.
And I wish I remembered his name. He was with the Oriole organization who oversaw the whole thing. Great guy, and his name, I couldn't even think of Pink Panther. So, so the most incredible thing is I got to be very close with the Clementes because of it. And his wife called me Iho, which is son, I ended up becoming really, really close with the Clementes. And Roberto Clemente Jr. would call me on the phone, and my caller ID would say Roberto Clemente. So I'm like, whoa! But I'll tell you the greatest story I've ever heard about in baseball. There was a guy named Les Banos, and Les Banos was the photographer for the Pirates in the late 60s and early 70s. And he was best friends with Clemente. And every time Clemente wanted to bring attention to the inadequacies of the ghetto in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh area, he would bring Les to take photos. So now, and there was a big, earthquake in Nicaragua, and Roberto asked Len to come with him because he's going to bring clothing and food to the starving, desolate people who are destitute people there. And Les says, look, I'm covering the Steelers this weekend, and they're playing Oakland. And if the Steelers lose, I'm free, and I'll go with you to I'll go to Nicaragua. But if not, I got to stick around. So the football game goes on, and it's the Franco Harris play, the
Immaculate Reception.
The Immaculate Reception, the last play of the game. Yeah. Franco Harris wins the game for Pittsburgh. he calls up Clemente and says, Les calls him up and says, I can't go. And Clemente goes, I know, I was at the game. I saw. You can't go. And that was the flight that the plane crashed and Clemente died in it. So Franco Harris saved the photographer's life by making that play.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. I mean, to add to that, obviously, you remember who Manny Sanguillen is.
Yeah, the catcher.
Yes.
So
yes.
Manny and him were very close also. And, he was actually there when they were loading up the plane, everything. And Manny was supposed to be on the plane. He said, we're already overweight. And, your wife is pregnant, but to be, Manny Sanguillen Jr., who's a good friend of mine. And, he made sure that he stayed.
Wow.
He made sure that he stayed. And, the rest was history.
Well, speaking of baseball miracles, let's talk about how you got selected for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, I was scouting with Baltimore. Kind of at the time, I thought I was just riding off into the sunset after playing career. Instead of having my dreams, I was gonna be the guy to help others' dreams and signing them. And I mean, there's nothing like calling a guy that's a grown man looking like a Greek god, and all of a sudden you have him on the phone and you're telling him that you're signing him to a major league organization, and just hearing the emotions of everything that they've worked for in their entire lives, all of a sudden like coming to fruition. So, I was scouting, and I was actually having lunch with my mother one day, and I was about 5 feet away from her, and I looked up and saw her, and the corner of her mouth was drooping, and I asked her if she was okay, and she couldn't really respond. From there, we rushed her to the hospital, and turned out that ended up being stage 4 glioblastoma brain cancer. And she wasn't at that time, was not, the prognosis was it was not ideal, obviously, given very little time. And a very vibrant woman, was subdued to a wheelchair very quickly. And one day she looked at me and said, Ryan, I want to see you play again. And, that was a moment I looked back at her and I said, if I come out of retirement, then you have to promise me to keep fighting. And so I came out of retirement with the Orioles, and ESPN found out through a really good friend of mine, Steve Bartelstein, he was actually a minor league umpire that used to work for, he was actually a newscaster. And so he let ESPN know, and they made a modified 30 for 30 on my family story. And by far most importantly, not only is my mom out of a wheelchair, but cancer-free almost 6 years later.
That's great. Yeah.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Do we have the picture of them at the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure if we do. I thought we had that, but maybe not.
Yeah. So
I guess we don't have it.
Do you have a favorite Orioles team, like a particular year, or a particular, like the Markakis, Adam Jones outfield, or any?
Well, you know what? 2014. I love that team. It broke my heart that we lost in the ALCS.
To who?
Don't mention the Kansas City Royals around the 2014 Kansas City Royals around me.
Okay, so this is this at the Hall of Fame? This is at the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, it is. That is at the Hall of Fame. So, following there was a book written, and we were nominated as the most inspirational baseball story out of Maryland. Or the one they decided to use, and was invited. The Hall of Fame had heard about her story, and I spoke with a lot of people up there, and all of a sudden there's talks of there's a chance that they're interested in selecting our story into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it was almost meant to happen. So a couple years back, in 2017, there was a hurricane bearing down on us. And my mother and father at that time, every 6 months, every two months to 6 months, depending, would have to go up to Duke, because that's where her scans are, and that's where her doctors were at the time. And they're racing back, and I'm at the time I'm yelling at them. I'm like, "What are you doing?" It's like the scene in Independence Day where all the cars are going one way and there's only one car coming back, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, they got there, and at that point, it wasn't far from the time that our story would be getting put into the Hall of Fame. So, I was kind of pacing, and all of a sudden they get home, and within 30 minutes, my mom sits down in the exact seat that I was, because I was at my family's house putting up the hurricane shutters. And all of a sudden I look at my phone, it starts ringing, and sitting right in front of my mom, it says National Baseball HOF on my phone. And that was like my stomach just dropped.
Right.
And so, I answered, and the woman, she's an incredible person, that called me, and she said, Ryan, I was in the middle of emailing you, but I wanted to call you and let you know, welcome to Cooperstown. Just to hear that.
Woo! That's awesome.
Words. So we go up to Cooperstown, and for the entire event and everything, and they treated us incredible. They're such wonderful people up in Cooperstown. And but the biggest thing that when we were up there that I took from it personally, and my family, was, everyone would think that, how does it feel to have your family story and you being in the Hall of Fame, and they said, when I was there, we were sitting in the plaque room about 20 minutes before our story is about to get put in the hall. And the plaque room surrounded by the greatest of all players, like the Johnny Benches and the Clemente's and the Al Kalines and the Babe Ruths. And, I just looking around, and I see out of the corner of my eye, my mom and dad kind of smiling at me. And I look over, just keeping things light. What are you guys smiling at? And they looked at each other and looked back at me, and they said, Ryan, what you said to us last time we were here, almost 20 years to the day, mind you, as a family. And I was like, I remember the trip like it was yesterday. I remember almost peeing my pants walking up the stairs because I was so excited. But they said that you said that someday you'd be in the Hall of Fame. And that's there was that moment of realization that it's so much bigger than the game itself, because it's a reason why baseball is the national pastime. It's not about the game itself. It's about, the smell of hot dogs, playing catch with dad or mom in the front yard, what it means to somebody. And, I look back at them and I said, guys, I'd rather be put into the National Baseball Hall of Fame with my family by my side than to be inducted as a player any day of the week.
There you go.
It's one of the most magical moments of my life. And it wasn't necessarily because it was the Hall of Fame itself, which I'm so blessed. And so is my family. Most importantly, my mother's health. But, it's.
Well, we're going to get that movie made.
You got to do me a favor, Ryan. I want you to go to Cooperstown this year for the induction weekend and walk around town until you make eye contact with Pete Rose.
He knows Pete Rose. He knows Pete Rose.
I actually was once at Shea Stadium sitting in the box seats with Paul Owens, who was the general manager, and I literally was at the railing, and on the other side of the railing was Pete Rose.
Wow.
Yeah. Best seats I ever had.
My father's a huge fan of his. And Ryan, you still haven't gotten anything from Rose from my father.
Sorry, Danny.
I'm still waiting.
I apologize, buddy. See what I can do.
Awesome. So Eddie.
Yes, sir.
I met you. I met you
in second, and I was making the relay throw.
When you hit me in the face with a baseball.
Yeah.
When I met Eddie, he told me I was lucky he didn't have a baseball.
He has one in his pocket that carries around in case he gets pissed off at someone.
I have a whole bunch behind me in this showcase because of all the people I met through the Clemente Foundation. I have like crazy one. I worked for Willie Mays. I did a benefit for the Willie Mays Foundation, and Reggie Jackson and I all of a sudden became simpatico, and we ran this auction and raised so much money for the Willie Mays. And Willie Mays was so thrilled. And supposedly he doesn't talk to a lot of people, but he was like hugging me, and he signed a baseball. It doesn't look like it's Willie Mays on it, but it's Willie Mays. And Hank Aaron, I got to meet, of course, one of my heroes of all time. And and Reggie. So I have the baseballs. I had Jeter. Because I had known Alex Rodriguez a million years ago when he was a young player. He came to see us in San Francisco. He didn't come to see me. He came to the show. We hung out. And then, of all the things that people say about Alex, I worked for him doing benefits for the Boys and Girls Club of America. And I never saw a guy more dedicated to helping kids So no matter what anyone says about him, I'll always back him because he was just an amazing guy. And I met Jeter and Cliff Floyd at I got to go. My brother and I got to go spend Christmas at Alex Rodriguez's house, and he was the sweetest, nicest guy. So
Wow.
I know people are like, screw him and all that, but not me.
Well, my son was a huge fan of his when he was a kid, and he got disappointed from the whole steroid thing.
Yeah,
but
it's disappointing.
Yeah. But we met in New York, and I think we met before, but I took your class, and I don't know if you remember this, but it was that period of time, the Bill Murray period of time when I had no money and I couldn't afford your class, and I had to call you and apologize and say I can't afford to continue with the class. And you were so nice to me, and you still stayed my friend. And I've known you, and you've always kept in touch with me throughout the years, and I appreciate that. That's what a great guy you are. So
wow.
I appreciate it.
I've had a lot of people look out for me, and it really is. I mean, so many names of so many great comedians who helped my life, and I vowed to do that for comedians, and I still do it today. Yesterday I had a guy over here, and we're going over his act because he's doing something. It's like his second spot ever at the comic strip, and it feels good when you see, like you're talking about Your Mean Mercedes. You see him come up and just explode on the field. When I see one of these comedians that I sort of mentored and then see them do really well, there's no better feeling in the world. There was this great movie with Ray Sharkey, and he was like the manager, and and you just know what it feels like to really try to help other people do well. And when you see them do well, you feel like you're doing well. It's a really nice.
It is truly better to give than to receive. You can't give what you don't have. So when you're in a position to give, whatever it is, it really is a gift to be able to give, whatever it might be.
Right. And interestingly enough, through baseball, I've been able to do that because I'm a fan of helping kids. So I work with the Clemente Foundation. I work with Big Papi in his foundation. And so every year we're raising money to save lives and children's lives. And there's no better feeling in the world. And, the joy of hanging out with Manny Sanguillen or Doc Ellis and these kind of people that you were mentioning names earlier, it's such a thrill for me because I'm such a baseball freak. To just be able to hang, I was, my brother's hanging out with Whitey Ford. I was like, what do you do? Yeah, I met this guy at the bar. I didn't know who he was. And we're having best friends. And Whitey goes, yeah, your brother rocks. And I'm like, what? And it's just really, it's a thrill. It really is a thrill.
Yeah. But from the scouting side, I mean, like I said earlier, it's such an amazing feeling making that phone call to players. I mean, it really drives you, getting calls from guys, like after your guys succeed, and then them calling those players. It's just because you're with an organization doesn't mean, like I got a call from the Boston Red Sox, another guy, with Arizona, just saying, congratulations. And I'm really, well, I know those relationships too, but from an inspirational side, like touching on my family's story, I mean, we're so incredibly blessed. Not only that my mom's a miracle, but knowing that our story can inspire other families that are going through similar struggles or major adversities in their lives, and knowing that
I went to my last trip with my mother before she died of cancer was the Baseball Hall of Fame and it was my son's first trip to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So, when your story, that's the thing about your mother's story that touched me. And it's why I really, really want to help you get that movie made. I hope we can get it made. But yeah. And as far as helping people, I mean, when I was running rooms, I would always help young comics by putting them on with celebrity comedians and giving them advice on their set all the time. I was running 8 shows a week and giving away 30 spots a week, and none of them call me. No.
Yeah, I've helped, but there's a lot of people like it keeps coming up little by little. Like I'll get an email like 20 years later, just going, "I'll never forget what you did for me, or those kind of things. It's really wonderful. And I learned a lot about health in the last, I would guess, since 2010. And I learned a lot about, I've had cancer in my family and all these other kind of diseases. And you can actually turn cancer on and off with an attitude. That's Ryan's mother's story, is people don't realize that, attitude goes a long way. I mean, there's a certain place where you can't beat something, but there are so many miracles because people believe in living, and people, and again, you can turn cancer on and off in many scenarios by just the attitude that you have. And people say that's ridiculous, but it really is true.
It's true.
Will, and I don't know about you guys, but also faith. And in my opinion, I witnessed a miracle right in front of my very, very eyes.
Yeah.
And it's
I've seen
to
people,
live for.
I've seen people beat diabetes, complete diabetes in 5 days, just by having faith and treating their body, well. Like, our society looks down. It's constantly like telling us where, you're not good. Your hair is gray, so you need Just for Men. You have pimples, so you need Clearasil. You're a piece of shit, and we have the thing to make you better. Instead of teaching people, you're a really good person, and you deserve everything that's coming to you because if you put in the good work. And that's the big difference in the world. It's how you treat people and treat yourself. And boy, does that change everything.
Yeah. I mean, just having a glass half full mentality rather than the opposite can move mountains. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just remember when I called Kevin and offered him the job for the show. It was like a miracle for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. My career died 3 days later. The reverse.
At the DMV, that's where he was working. No, but I've been lucky enough I made a decision years ago to only surround myself with good human beings, and I think by the people on this show right now, I think it's working. I think it's working. I'm blessed to have friends like you guys, and Eddie, I want to hear so many more stories. Because we're talking about baseball the whole time, but I'm dying to hear. Give us a good Letterman story.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, I never met her ever, and she's a very talented person. And, when we did the Letterman show, he'd be at the desk, and I'd be to his left, not far to his left during the taping. At the beginning of the show, I'm behind the main camera, but most of the show, I'm on the left. So when a guest would walk out this way, they see, and if they wave, like, friends of mine that would do it or not. So Sarah Michelle Gellar, I'd never met her in my life. She was an incredible guest. When she was done, she walked over to me and said, "Hi, how are you? How's everything going?" And she gave me a big hug, and I didn't know what to say. I was shocked, and just, she went away, and Dave said, "How do you know her?" I go, "I don't. I've never met her in my life."
I'm a babe magnet.
Yeah. And he was like, "Well, I said, I think she thinks I'm someone else. I'm not really sure." So the next time she came on the show, Dave was ready. He's like, everyone's waiting to see if she was going to come over and hug me. And she did. She came over and hugged me. And I was like, "How's Freddie Prinze Jr.? I don't know him, but I know she's married to him. And how's everything going?" She gave me a big hug, which was great. And then she took off. And this happened like 3 different times. The 4th time she came to the show, she didn't even look my way. And when she was done, she just took off and left. Now, some people are nervous and they just go. But I think she might have met the person who she thought I was. And said, "Yeah, it was nice to see you at Letterman." Said, "I don't work at Letterman." And she probably was embarrassed that, it's like, I just hugged this stranger,
He's friendly.
That's hysterical.
Go on by. Just give him a hug.
She was a lovely person,
That is hysterical.
So it was good. I got some pretty good hugs, and that was a good one. I got Oprah. Oprah was probably the most. I got hugs from three hugs in my life are the greatest hugs of my life, and it's name dropping, but I will say it. Vera Clemente, Clemente's wife, because I'm a big boy and she was a big person, and in heart and soul, and the two of us together, we just got lost. Like, 2 pillows, in the night. And then Oprah was on Letterman, and she was so excited because she hadn't been on in a million years. And when the segment was over, she was just so ecstatic. And I was at the desk, and she just hugged me. And it was the greatest hug in the world. But the best hug I ever got, it was right after 9/11. There was Dennis Leary, who I went to college with, a roommate at the time. He put on a big event for the firemen. And so I had to come. I came a little bit later, and the party's going on. And I walk in the room, and I see Robert De Niro. Now, I had never met Robert De Niro, and he's my hero. And I was so excited, and I didn't know what to do. He started walking toward me to leave as I was coming in. And I just, I did a head nod, and he looked at me. And just before then, my 2 best friends are in the back waving, "We're over here, come on over." So I was walking that way. And all of a sudden, De Niro hugged me and didn't let go. And hugged me. And the room is full of celebrities. I mean, everybody from The Sopranos and, Matt Dillon. And I mean, just everybody who's in show business is there. And they're all looking like, who the fuck's this guy? And then he leaves, and I'm like, oh. And I walk over to my friends. "How do you know De Niro?" I go, "I don't know De Niro." "What are you talking about? You're making love to him in front of the whole crowd." And the whole night, people are like, "How does that guy know De Niro?" So at one part of the party, Clarence Williams III, I don't know if you know who that is. He was Link in the Mod Squad.
Okay.
So if you're old like me, at Link. And so he comes up to me, and I think he probably got the short straw and was asked, "How do you know De Niro?" Like, go find out how that guy knows De Niro. Because he comes up to the bar, and I buy him a drink. He's such a nice guy. And he finally goes, "All right, so how do you know De Niro?" I go, "From Mean Streets." That's how I knew him, from the movies. I didn't know him anything, but those are, and then De Niro came to Letterman, and I said, "I don't know if you remember this." And he said, "No, I don't remember it, but I had a good time."
You don't remember that hug?
I never forget it. Are you kidding?
It was the best hug of my life, De Niro.
He didn't let go, and I was like, "You son of a bitch!"
For whatever reason, that made me think of the Don Rickles, Frank Sinatra story.
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're in a restaurant, and Rickles
Eddie.
goes over to Frank and says, "Hey, if you could come over, I'm on a date. It'd be great." While the date's in the bathroom, so he's at the table eating, and Sinatra comes over, and Rickles like, "Come on, Frank, I'm trying to eat here."
Yeah. Classic.
You got to find that person. You got to find that person that you look like, Eddie, because it's probably the same person.
I think it might have been Jeff Garlin. From I think. But I also, for a lot of my life, looked like Jamie Aiello, Danny Aiello's son. So when I walked into the party, I think De Niro thought I was Jamie Aiello, and that's what I thought. But I don't know. Who knows? I wasn't gonna. He wouldn't let go.
Maybe you got some kind of hug angel that hangs like a guardian hug angel.
It's my clone. My karate.
Yeah. Hey, Eddie. Talking about the Clemente Foundation, just real quick. Also, there's one of my really good buddies is close with the family also, and he actually just started this awesome podcast talking about Clemente.
Wow, what's his name?
Do you know Danny Torres?
I know him through the foundation.
So Danny was the guy that actually I asked him to introduce my family at the Hall of Fame because he was writing for the Hall.
That's so great.
So Danny,
I went. There's a great Clemente museum in Pittsburgh, and I go to it all the time. Mm-hmm. It's really great. And Les Banos, that guy I told you about, the photographer, he has a little wing in the thing. Yeah, I'm a Mets fan because the Mets won the World Series on my birthday in 1969, and that was the year the Mets beat Baltimore and everything. The Knicks beat the Bullets. The Jets beat the Colts in the Super Bowl, and then and the Mets beat Baltimore Orioles in that thing. So, it's very interesting, how you just become this team, but I love baseball. So like my favorite player is not even a Met, you know what I mean? It's, I'm a New York Rangers hockey fanatic, and my favorite player is Bobby Orr, so I still.
That's great though.
What is your birthday? I'm curious.
October 16th.
Wow. Okay.
So they won on my birthday. It was the greatest birthday you can imagine.
Miracle Mets.
I didn't know we were the same age.
Are we?
Yeah.
Speaking of Hall of Fame, Tim Robbins Tim Robbins, who was, was not allowed in the Hall of Fame because of for a while they were keeping them out because of their political thing, and they wanted to show that movie at the Hall of Fame, and they wouldn't allow. Well, I can't even think
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham. Yeah. So it was the 25th anniversary. But anyway, Tim Robbins and I show up everywhere together. I go to a Rangers benefit, and we did this Hockey in Harlem program. Tim Robbins is there. I went to an Elvis Costello concert. Tim Robbins is there. Everything I go, Tim Robbins is there. So I'm reading a magazine.
But did he hug you?
He didn't hug me. He didn't hug me, the bastard. So doesn't he know who I am?
Right.
So I go to, everything. Tim Robbins shows up. So I'm reading this magazine, and it says, Tim Robbins' story, and he was at Shea Stadium on his 11th birthday when the Mets won the World Series. So we were born on the same day, same year. And that's why we're, it's weird how that works, but we finally talked about it, and everything we really like everything the same. It's weird how, but weird.
That is great. I honestly, Eddie, could listen to you tell stories all day. You do have a show that's on every day, don't you? So people can listen to you every day.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
I have a few shows, and one of them I do every night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just 20 minutes, and it's just a bullshitting. I'm just telling stories. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I never come armed with stuff to talk about. And I did my 50th episode tonight, and it's on Instagram Live. I'm Eddie Comic at Instagram Live. So every night at 7, I just, I was watching the Patrice O'Neill documentary, and I was so inspired by it because he was such a great comedian.
He was.
On the Instagram Live and just started talking about it. And then every day I went on, and I just kept getting more and more followers and more and more followers. And that's been really good. And on Facebook, I put a lot of my stories. Yesterday was the anniversary of Don Rickles passing away 4 years ago. And there's a great story I'm very proud of on Facebook. If you find Eddie Brill there, the Don Rickles story, and it's just gone on fire. I'm working on a book for that. And also I have a show called Famous Phrases, where I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough, you remember The Family Affair. And it was Sebastian Cabot played Mr. French. And I play a character called Professor Goodenwell. And hello, Professor Goodenwell. And it's Famous Phrases, and it's on onlygood.tv. And there's like 20 episodes of etymology, like, who let the cat out of the bag? How did that phrase happen? And then we find the history. It's kind of like little 2-minute segments. It's really nice.
That's really cool.
I love it. I like to say the cat is now casually toying with the bag. Because when it first came out of the bag, you show it the bag and it's going to fall in line. But after a while, it's not a threat anymore.
That's so
all right,
good.
guys.
There's one other one. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're the guest.
The only other thing that I want to talk about is a thing called word collections. Comedians for years have not been paid for all of what we deserve. There's a guy named Jeff Price, and he works with musicians for many years and got billions of dollars in royalties from musicians who never got them, never received them. Comedians, when we're on like XM Sirius and those kind of things, they play our albums, we're only getting half of the money. We're getting only the performance, but not the writing. Well, there's a group called Word Collections. If you go to wordcollections.com, if you're a comedian, they're putting together the biggest not a lawsuit, but they're going to settle with all of the companies who've been holding out half the money. And, George Carlin's family is involved, and, Bill Hicks, and, all these people, Robin Williams' estate, and then all comedians, we're all like, are signing up for this thing. So if you're a comedian, just go to wordcollections.com and claim half the money that you've never gotten.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Wow. Yeah. Now I got to get on some TV shows.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I just wanted everyone to know that.
No, absolutely. And so we know where you can find you. I want you guys to come back to the show, but we do have a segment here that we're going to do. If you can hang out, we would greatly appreciate your input. But gotcha. Yeah. So this is a segment we do at the end. It's with our very esteemed colleague, Anthony. And let's roll it.
What are your favorite films with evil puppets?
There we go.
Hello, I'm unmuted. How you doing?
Welcome.
Good show, gentlemen. Good show. I can listen to you guys all night.
Thank you.
So before we get into films with evil puppets, I have to say that it's getting a little humid in Atlanta, so I have my sweat towel. If I dap, but beyond that, we have to talk about the baseball stack. If we're going to do films about evil puppets, of course, we're naturally going to talk about baseball films because we got some baseball guests, and comedy and baseball also kind of go hand in hand, right? So this is my baseball stack. Now, I haven't seen The Natural since probably I was 7. Okay. But I threw it in there because it's hailed as the best, and Danny's like, that shit better be in there. And I'm like, you know what? You're the boss.
Hey,
First of all, I don't talk to you like that.
I know. Well, come on. Why do you got to ruin the illusion?
I gotta
go with Field of Dreams on that one.
I got Sandlot. Sandlot to me may be the best movie ever.
No.
The Beast.
Field of Dreams, Bull Durham. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Come on. Major League 3.
Oh yeah. Here's one not mentioned. Bang the Drum Slowly is one of the greatest baseball films in the history of the world, with Robert De Niro and Michael Moriarty and Vincent Gardenia and a million stars. And I worked at a movie theater, and it was amazing to see that movie every night.
Very cool. I actually have in my Evil Puppets list a Michael Moriarty film, so he's in good company. I will get that film because, as you can see, I kind of like movies.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
A little bit. You love
it. Bear with the construction. There's some shit going on. Pardon my language. But yeah, I got to say, side note, I revisited Major League 2 recently, and I was kind of angry. I was not happy. I actually found Major League 3 to be a little bit better, and that's not saying a lot. But I like all involved.
Really?
It's actually on right now. Right before the show, I was watching Major League 2.
Oh, really?
Nice. It's just, especially if you marathon it, it's just like, it peaks with the first naturally, and then it just kind of crashes and then kind of pulls itself out of the wreckage by the third. So, all right.
Well, hey, they're trying to make the 4.
Major League 4. The bills need to be paid.
Hey, I'm for it. I'll be there matinee or streaming in my little home theater here, whatever. But let's get into it. Evil puppets.
Except they're using walkers in the last one.
Yes. They're throwing out the first pitch if they're able. Yes.
Right.
God bless all involved. Okay, so we're just gonna get into it. We've seen a bunch of movies with evil puppets over the years. I think the 80s were the heyday of the rubber puppets that were terrorizing everybody. And for me, it was kind of a big deal. So let's start with Trilogy of Terror. Boom.
Nice.
And I don't know if anybody's seen this one, but this one is messed up. So it's an anthology movie, but as you can see from the packaging, they're tripling down on the third story, because this movie has this little fucker, pardon my language, who basically chases her around the apartment and is relentless upon murdering her. And it holds up.
Really?
Oh my gosh. It's from 75, I believe. Yeah, it's very good. There's a sequel, which is, it's not that great, but check it out. It's awesome. I'm having a White Claw over here, so excuse me.
Wait a minute, what are you doing? It's National Beer Day.
Right. This is like the beer of the yacht rock of beers, dude. Yeah.
The yacht rock of beers.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I didn't submit this next film, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it real quick. There's a movie called Magic.
Yeah.
Love this.
Yeah, with Anthony Hopkins. Okay, he's a struggling magician, and basically, once he starts doing ventriloquism with Fats, I believe his dummy, he starts getting fame and fortune, basically, and it goes a little too far. Now, I have a little show and tell.
Didn't he kill Burgess Meredith in that movie?
I'm not spoiling anything for anybody who hasn't seen anything, sir.
So kill Mick. You cannot kill Mick from Rocky.
You can't.
After 30 years, it's not a spoiler anymore.
So I got this guy. Sorry, he did. Oh, don't spoil anything, sir. So we're gonna get weird. Okay, this is a total show and tell show. I don't think I've ever done this, but I clearly have a lot of. Well, you're gonna see a lot of weird shit. So this is a dude from England I got in 2003. His name is Bernard, and it's funny because when I was purchasing him, I'm like, "Hey, is his name Bernard?" This is online. They're like, "No, Bernard." I'm like, "Okay, fine, got it." So I paid for it, and he finally was shipped overseas. And once I opened it, the person who I bought it from said, I got to let you know, I had to sell it because this doll's possessed. My wife wanted it out of the house. Not even kidding you. And I think it's going to be fine. Just, put it in a nice dark corner of your house. It'll be great. And so basically, he's looking at you.
He's looking at you.
Ah, shit. Okay. I think I've said too much. But yeah. So anyway, I think I maybe revealed too much that I'm a horror fan of the guy, and he's just kind of like having taking the piss out of me a little bit. But yeah, so this is Bernard. He's fun. He's kind of the mascot of the old video store. But he goes kind of hand in hand with magic.
Yeah.
So just wanted to introduce you. So we're going to park him real quick.
That movie scared the hell out of me. My parents didn't know that I was awake, and I started watching it. And the part where he just, I don't want to give it. You know what? Nobody's going to watch it. He
just don't say anything about Burgess Meredith.
He smacks the crap out of Burgess Meredith. He beats him with his dummy. It terrified me. I started screaming.
He was the penguin, Burgess Meredith.
Yeah. And I started screaming. Yeah. And that's when they made me go to bed, but it haunted me for like years
as it
after
should.
that.
Yeah, there's something not right about it. There's something not right about it. But let's move on to the next one. I mean, I could talk about a few films that have transgressed after this film, but like The Dark Crystal was a big one. But we're gonna go to Evil Puppets.
Yes.
We're gonna skip to Meet the Feebles. Boom. Okay, so I thought we were gonna go to Gremlins, but God bless, maybe I set that shit out of order. So check it out. Oh, we're going to Gremlins. I was just gonna do the big reveal. Cool. So yeah, Gremlins was the shit. It took everybody by storm. In fact, it was the reason PG-13 was invented. Spielberg came out with Gremlins in '84 and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with that heart sequence. And especially with Gremlins, because they marketed it on the trailer with all these little furry, like a furry creature, gizmo, cuddly Christmas film coming out in the summer. So yeah, parents took their 4-year-olds and basically, obviously it's super pre-internet, so they were just writing angry letters. And he had an idea. He's like, "How about PG-13?" And I think, and I've said this before, I feel like that was the official first mic drop. Was that? Yeah, because I've seen PG films, and I know we all have in the 80s, that were like, "Oh, this should kind of be rated R." But for whatever reason, they swung to the PG version or just rating, and it just had that wider net to get ticket sales. But Gremlins, what do you got?
Yeah, one of my favorite directors, Joe Dante.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to get him for my movie. I was talking to special effects guy about him today who knows him, and he loves my script. So yeah. So keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, and I know every time we talk about Joe Dante, because he pops up in these segments as he should. He's a super nice guy, so you should hit him up. At the very least, he will be very nice about saying not for me.
No.
But I don't see how he can say that. I don't see how he can say that. But anyway, Gremlins was just a badass film, and it was a nightmare to make. I understand. It was all practical puppetry. And it just, in terms of evil puppets, they toned it down, as a matter of fact, because Chris Columbus, who has gone on to directing Adventures of Babysitting, Harry Potter, Home Alone, he's had a pretty good career, clearly. But he wrote a rated R script initially for Gremlins, and they turned it into a PG film. And it was actually Gizmo was supposed to be killed off. What? Early on, and Spielberg had the brilliant idea to say, you know what, he should survive the entire film. Let's keep him going. He's like the heart of the film, and boom. So, but I actually have the script, and it's brutal, like the original rated R one. Yeah. So let's move on because I got a lot of movies. I want to make this condensed as I can. So we're just going to go right through it.
Real quick, did you know that the downtown in Gremlins is the same is Hill Valley?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, most people don't know that.
Yeah.
From Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Universal Backlot. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
They just added like a Burger King in there. It's like, oh, that's sponsored by Burger King. But yeah, when I realized that as a kid, because at first I'm like, oh wow, like where is this Kingston Falls where Gremlins
Yeah,
is?
right.
Because I grew up in the Valley, and so I was pretty close to Studio City. I was really excited about the movie magic of it, but
Don't say magic.
yeah, never. Yeah, I will try to never ever. I'm gonna send this to
PTSD.
you. I'm gonna send this to you, dude. I'll give you the laser disc. I'll give you the Blu-ray. I'll give you all versions of it.
Just make sure you don't send me a pop-up.
I will. I will.
It'll scare the shit out of me.
On to the next one. Before we go, Susanna, real quick. There was one movie that made everybody afraid of going into the ocean, and that was Jaws. This next movie made everybody afraid of going to the bathroom. Ghoulies.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's right.
Brilliant marketing. I'm gonna have to just bring this guy here. So I have a stunt ghoulie from the movie.
Wow.
Wow.
And these were produced to be thrown around. But yeah, he's a
How
fun
did you
one.
get that?
The thing is like if you dork out hard enough, you can almost get anything. And I wanted one. I didn't know it was going to ever be available. And I've seen because I got this 15 years ago. I've seen other like actual animatronic puppets from the film that were like thousands of dollars. And, I just had to like watch it get picked up by somebody else with money. But they're around. You can get them. There's movie prop auction houses. There's, of course, eBay. But anyway, Ghoulies was a PG-13 film because, this was in 85, the year after Gremlins. So it got that sweet spot PG Steven Spielberg rating. And I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a lot of creativity in this film. It's not fantastic, but you have to appreciate how like good the effects are and how creative it is. The end.
Nice.
Anybody have any memories of that film? By the way, anybody?
No, I thought I agree with you. I thought it was it wasn't my favorite of the films, but I enjoyed it. I thought the craft, was really great, and I appreciated it.
100%. Moving to the next one, we got Critters.
Yes.
Now this one is basically a hard
rip-off.
Yes, but not that Ghoulies wasn't. Ghoulies was kind of the same, but
Right.
Although they argue that it was in production, and it may have, because actually it was released late 84 in the UK in terms of Ghoulies. But Critters is a direct ripoff, and I do recall there was a synopsis by Roger Ebert, and it's space porcupines land in Kansas and eat a cow. The end. Okay. And when I read that, I'm like, I gotta see this. That sounds incredible. Okay.
I've eaten some pretty good cow in Kansas.
Yeah. So
And some porcupine.
So we got a critter here. This guy is super sharp teeth. My son's not a huge fan of this dude, but it's coming around. It's coming around. So if you have some critters,
you like
know
eat your vegetables. You like eat your vegetables.
Hey, that's a really good
critters
idea.
coming.
Really good idea. But then again, I might like set myself up for like nightmare evenings, and I'm not sure about like 2 a.m. screams yet, But if you haven't seen Critters, it's basically exactly what Roger Ebert said: space porcupines eat a cow, and then they happen to like try to eat other human beings. It's super fun. It's super pre-Sonic the Hedgehog. They roll. It's awesome.
All right.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And the sequel, I got to tell you, the second one is awesome. I think it's almost better than the first, but the first is very good. And it's actually an Easter movie, so it's relevant. Yeah, the second one. But let's move on.
Watch it before church.
Watch it before church. The next one is the worst of the worst, but it's also very enjoyable. It's Munchies, which is a super direct ripoff of Gremlins, but the cheapest one possible, the cheapest ripoff you can get. And God bless, it's Roger Corman who produced this. And God bless him, it was actually his birthday, April 5th. He's now 95 years old and still kicking ass. So
with that picture, it looks like a mix between Gremlins and The Woman in Red.
100% because it came out the same year. Yeah, and I appreciate the marketing on this because it definitely was parodying it. Is the movie good? Not at all. But are there moments? Yes. The puppetry is pretty fucking cheesily fun. So it's on the list. Moving on. Brought to you by.
We should get sponsored. I was going to say we should get sponsors from.
So the next one is you ever see Dolls? Anybody?
No.
This one's fucked up. Yes. I almost want to say the end. It's rated R. It's a Stuart Gordon picture. He did Reanimator from the 80s. He did a movie called From Beyond. This is there's a production company called Empire, which was pre-Full Moon. And this was an independent production company that would literally pump out very well-made horror pictures in the 80s. And they turned into Full Moon Productions, which did Puppet Master and all these other movies. But I will say Dolls is a rated R movie, and it's very well done. It's almost a classic horror film that's very enjoyable. It doesn't feel dated. I mean, it might a little, but like it's all practical effects. Obviously, all these movies are. But there's a classic quality to this picture in terms of like craftsmanship and artisticness. So on any of these movies, if you were to watch one, I would say watch Dolls.
Really?
So, yeah. I mean, who doesn't love Gremlins? But
it looks like they were making a Jim Morrison doll, and it didn't work out. And they're like, "Fuck it, let's make a different kind of movie."
You know, it's funny. You know, we should talk about Team America. Actually, has anybody seen Team America?
Yes. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it.
Yes.
So there's a Matt Damon.
You worked
puppet.
on that.
I did.
Fuck
Man,
yeah.
this Yacht Rock beer is really burpy.
Yeah.
It is.
Very
Dude.
light.
So did
Dude.
you meet the Chioda brothers then?
Yes, I did. And I was like a super nerd fan, like, oh, Killer Clowns from Outer Space and all this other shit. So they were like the biggest celebrities when I saw them on set. I'm like, oh shit, they're right over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just a post-production assistant. Sorry?
No, I said Steven's an awesome guy. I'm actually friends with him and his wife.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Incredible people.
Yeah, you met him through Titus, who I introduced you to.
Yeah,
We went to
you invited
we
me
went to Christopher Titus's Prince party.
You liar. Just kidding.
Yeah, we went to Titus's Prince party, and you, me, and Steve actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
And then he was there. Yeah, he's a good friend. of
Yeah,
Titus.
I've met. I believe I met all of them. Handful of times. My sister-in-law actually used to work for them as well for a number of years.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh my gosh, so cool. But yeah, so the Matt Damon puppet. Okay, so yeah, so there's a reason for that. Initially, they just like tried to make the Matt Damon puppet, and some didn't quite look right, and they tried it again, and they went back to the drawing board. They're like, something's wrong. What's up with this production? And then they realized the true answer is just Matt Damon. They just had to like calm him down because the puppet wasn't working in terms of capturing his likeness. That's it. So, and it's funny because it steals a movie.
Right.
So funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, moving on to Child's Play, everybody. Boom. This movie's fucked
there
up.
you go.
Yeah. So this movie is a direct response to Teddy Ruxpin from '85, and Child's Play came out a couple years later. But yeah, so Child's Play is really messed up. I'm sure everybody has seen this one. This is like one of the most mainstream evil puppet films that have ever been released, next to Gremlins, of course. This one totally holds up. It's rated R. It's brutal. It's well made, and it's you know, I mean, what a design. Okay,
Yep.
They made him a redhead for a reason. God bless them. You know, like
Hey, my son's a redhead.
It's like
there's nothing wrong with that. But they specifically used this for a reason. You're a red. Dude, my mom's a redhead, so we're all in the same company. It's fine. But that wasn't an accident, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
You know they have those scare videos.
Oh, of course, yeah. When they bust out of the bus shelter.
Yeah, they have little people dressed up as Chucky, and it's a Chucky poster, and all of a sudden he cuts through and jumps out, and they scream and start running. It's hilarious. Now this comes from Teddy Ruxpin. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, basically, I may have mentioned in a previous episode, my dad is the co-creator of Teddy Ruxpin.
There you go.
My dad had an idea in 1963 to. He didn't like whatever was going on for kids at the time. He didn't have any kids, but he was a struggling inventor watching TV at home, and he thought the TV shows at the time sucked. So he wanted to do a puppet show for kids for TV. And so he linked up with his buddy Ken Forsey, who was a fabricator at the time, who would create, foam, this and that, practical stuff. And they formed a company and they hired a writer and they got together and they came up with this story. And ultimately it was Teddy Ruxpin 20 years later. My dad sold the rights in 84. Conveniently, Worlds of Wonder picked it up and it was under every Christmas tree in 85. And I remember I told my dad when my sister and I got a Teddy Ruxpin for Christmas, I'm like, you got this for free, bro. This is you saved some money this year. I want that Tyco cliffhanger, racetrack on, whatever. Yeah. But we definitely had fun with it. But yeah, so it was such like a phenom for that year. And I remember a lot of people, not a lot, but a fair amount were creeped out by it. I mean, people would put like a Slayer tape in the back and it would just, you'd get possessed and like, tweak out because the animatronics couldn't understand what was pumping through the Teddy Ruxpin. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why movies like Paranormal Activity 4, I think, has a Teddy Ruxpin possessed scene. And we all think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so Child's Play is kind of a response to that, of just this doll in your house that's like your kid's best friend who not necessarily turns on you, but murders everybody.
Right.
Yeah. The end. So yeah. Real quick. What do we got? Oh, so this is a really good one. This next movie, Meet the Feebles. Here we go. Boom. So we're gonna, if we can, let's keep that image up real quick. So Peter Jackson did Meet the Feebles. He also did a movie called Bad Taste. He also did a movie called Dead Alive. But most importantly for the world, he did Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Yeah. So he made really fucked up movies before he chilled down and did some classical literature films, And so if you look at this is a messed up, the whole movie's all puppets, by the way. It's like a Muppets on acid type film. And it totally holds up. It's rated R. It's brutal. It's, I'm embarrassed sometimes. I'm like, damn, this like smokes South Park sometimes, So wow. If you look at the very top, you see the frog, right? He's got a gun to his head.
Yeah.
You see that? Okay. So behind him, that's a frog. So behind him is literally this soldier. You see the buck teeth behind him? Yeah. So this is screen used. I never touched this thing, but I'm bringing it out for the segment. So yeah, basically it's a deer hunter's satirical spoof scene, and he's one of the
I was gonna say he looks like Christopher Walken.
He looks like Christopher Walken. Yeah. So screen used. So I'm very happy to have that piece. Meet the Feebles. If you ever are looking for a super brutal rated R, I mean, they all do coke and they fuck. It's awesome. Yeah. So check it out. 4 stars.
Nice.
That's all I got.
All right.
Oh no, there's
That's
more.
Pretty cool stuff.
Puppet Master. I'm not done, gentlemen. You're hijacked.
This is my favorite.
All right, let me hear from you, sir, why you like this movie, and I'll just sip this Yacht Rock sensation.
The reason, by the way, you're right. That does give you a lot of gas. I tried to switch from beer to White Claw, and I was burping all night. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But Puppet Master is an amazing. All these puppets come to life, and they're all different. They all kill people in different ways, which is cool. They all have different weapons, and they have hot girls in every movie, which I loved as a teenager. And I was just enamored with every movie. I saw all of them.
Oh, it's fantastic. Real quick, Eddie, you got to go, but dude, nice to meet you, sir.
Same. I'm sorry that I have to go.
Not at all.
It's an hour long, and I have to get on. But I've really enjoyed the segment, and I'm so happy to meet you, Ryan and Kev. Good to see you and everything. Have a wonderful night, you guys.
All right, you got to come back, buddy. You got to come back, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie, also that podcast, if you did want to hear about it, the Roberto Clemente one, it's Talkin' 21 podcast.
Talkin' 21.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah,
I got it.
It's Danny's.
All right, be well. Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of Eddie's links will be in, for those of you watching, the links to all the things he was talking about will be in the comments section of this when you want to watch it later. Which I'm sure you'll want to watch this episode 20 times. Okay, go ahead.
Maybe even 30.
Right?
I'm a repeat offender, so I'm a creature of habit. If something works, I mean, I watch Mr. Mom all the time. You know this, gentlemen.
I know.
All right, so Puppet Master's badass. Craftsmanship, gentlemen. Great stop motion animation in this movie. As you can see in the poster, you'll see Full Moon in the corner right there. Full Moon used to be Empire Pictures. They did Ghoulies, the toilet movie, and they did Dolls, the Stuart Gordon film. God rest his soul, he passed recently. But Puppet Master's awesome. It's an eclectic group of puppets, and they fucking murder, and it's awesome. I mean, I could really just say, hey, they murder. It's rad. Check it out. Because every film is the fucking same, but it is enjoyable. So, and it's not like, somebody taking a puppet and just moving them along. Like, there's some great stop motion in this. So, and the score by Charles Band's brother, Richard Band, is fucking awesome. And I got a movie that I'm going to squeeze in here. I didn't add this, I think, in terms of graphics, but there's a movie called Troll. Anybody remember this?
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
This is another Empire film from the 80s, and this movie's got great puppetry. And I actually have a recasted mold from the original. So this is a mushling. Wow. This is a good puppet, so he really shouldn't be in this segment. I'm bending the rules. But he basically kicks it in the Good Witch's apartment. I got to tell you, the plot of Troll was very controversial later on. Let me tell you why. Here's the plot of Troll, and tell me if you see any red flags. There's a young wizard named Harry Potter. This is 1985. Okay. Young wizard named Harry Potter, and he meets a good witch who teaches him how to be a proper wizard so he can defeat evil.
Right.
The end. Okay.
Right. I remember that whole thing.
Yeah, and they actually took J.K. Rowling to court, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I feel there's no way. I mean, it's so spot on. The father in the picture is a writer. I mean, it was not only shot in Rome, it was released out there first, and it was very successful. She claims she's never seen it. And hey, at the end of the day, we all live in the same world. There are coincidences that are like, oh my gosh, that's too good to be true, or too good to be a coincidence. But I respect JK at the end of the day in terms of like her work and this and that. So it is what it is. If she was ruled innocent and didn't plagiarize, fine. But it's a little suspect.
Right.
Just gonna say.
Kind of like 30. Yeah. Kind of like 30 Rock in my movie.
Wow. You're right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the leap year episode. I'm telling you.
Anytime we get a laugh from Kevin, it's just like.
No, that wow really earned it. It was
cool,
it was multi-dimensional in that one wow.
I was improvising because I
had to celebrate it.
So I was just linking. I was like, okay, I guess there's a similarity. All right, so Troll's awesome. Check it out. In fact, Noah Hathaway, who played Atreyu in Neverending Story, is the main character. He plays young Harry Potter.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
So check it out. Check it out. What do we got? I think Susanna, can you chime? Yay! Demonic Toys. All right, so yeah, this is another Full Moon film, and this movie's just jacked up. It's very low budget. It's got messed up ass imagery in it. Check it out if you're looking for toys that basically mess people up. You can't go wrong with Demonic Toys, and I believe the writer, I think is it Goyer? David Goyer? Yes, David S. Goyer. I think this guy went on to like write Batman and do other I'm talking about like Dark Knight. Yeah. He had a hell of a career. I might need clarification on that, Suzanne, if you don't mind. But David Goyer, Goyer, hell of a career this guy's had. Forgive me for not doing my homework on that guy. But there's a couple honorable mentions real quick that I will just say. It's a movie called Cat's Eye. Stephen King. You see that little fucker in the corner?
Oh,
yeah. I remember.
That's a wall troll that comes out and terrorizes a young Drew Barrymore. He wants to steal her soul through her breath. It's an anthology movie. It works, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And the photography is fantastic in that. Couple other movies, because I think graphically we've actually finished, that I'll just showcase real quick and call it a night. David Goyer. Yeah, David Esquire. All right, so check it out. So this guy, you might remember him from Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah.
Right? Now this isn't the Disneyland model at all. This
Jabba
guy
the
is,
Hutt's pet.
yeah, this guy has been recasted from the original. Okay, I've had this for maybe 10 years. At this point, 15 years. I used to take him into bars. So he's got his pass. And then we made a short film where he was snorting coke. So he has his little tutor, just, you never know. So there's that guy, Salacious Crumb. So he's a lot of fun. And I think the biggest disaster evil puppet of all is Caddyshack. Okay.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. This guy.
Yes.
Terrorized more human beings.
Golfers.
Okay.
He's awesome.
Than anything else. Okay. He damn near killed Ted Knight. Okay. Who's a gem. God
Right?
damn it. Yeah. So all those other puppets.
And we're back to Bill Murray.
I was just going to say he's got a Bill Murray story too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got one more. I'll just show you. It's a puppet of sorts, but Tales from the Crypt. It's a recast of the Crypt Keeper, signed by John Kassir. Boom, the voice.
Dude, that is amazing.
We'll just call it a night right there, gentlemen.
All right.
He absolutely terrified me when I was a little kid. Like the
Crypt Keeper?
Like at the start of the show, and then all of a sudden, like it terrified me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because it's all in your face. Yeah,
yeah. Gopher and magic.
Gopher and magic, and I got to tell you, I can't recommend enough the Zuni fetish doll from Trilogy of Terror. I mean, this guy's brutal, dude, and he runs so quickly. I wish we could just like do a YouTube clip, but yeah, check it out. You can even watch that segment on YouTube, just like Trilogy of Terror doll or fetish doll. It's like a 10-minute bit.
I don't know if you want to look up fetish doll.
You do, though. You do.
You might find some different things.
And that's fine. That's a rabbit hole. That's the beauty of the internet, right? So on that note, gentlemen, that's it.
Anthony, thank you so much for your amazing segment. Guys, what a great show tonight. I'm just happy we made Eddie Brill laugh. How cool was that?
That was great. Eddie was a great guest.
Letterman show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys all. Guys, we're running long. Feel free to hang out for a few minutes after the show. Guys down at the bottom, please support us. We need your support.
Hey.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to fire Kevin.
No, I have an important message. This year, your taxes are not due in April. So if you have a compulsion to send out a large check in April, send it to us.
Yes. Well, do it via the website, anchor.fm/the Danny McDermott Show /support.
Remember what Kevin said.
That's right.
It is better to give than receive.
That's right.
Go.
And give to
and to honor what you did. Yeah. There you go.
Yes, we've given you our entertainment, and you give us money. Guys, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome.
Awesome to have you if you have a few minutes in the after show.
He will be. He'll be here.
Good.
Guys, thank you so much. Tell your friends. Donate. Get us. If you got guests that are big that we don't know, send them over. And if you have any ideas for the show, we are willing to listen. If you got great ideas, we will use them. But you got to tell us. So thank you guys so much. Let's roll those credits. Woo!
Nope.